number one, it allows humans to organize their lives, because without it, it's hard to plan birthdays and travel and, spending time with my friends or whatever it ends up being. Because if you have uncertainty around, like, I might have to work this weekend, I might have a really stressful week at work this week. When you can't plan and organize your life around dates, it makes that second part just so much harder, because then you're at constant, you have a constant feeling of uncertainty, and when you do, it's just hard to get work done.
Welcome to this second conversation in a multi-episode segment with the CEO and co-founder of Apprentice.io, Angelo Stracquatanio. Angelo and I cover a range of topics from the future of work, entrepreneurship, and tech, and I'm really excited to be able to present the second part of our conversation.
Welcome back to Future Tide Conversations. This is part 2 of our 3-part series with Angelo Stracquatanio, co-founder and CEO of Apprentice.io. If you haven't listened to part 1 yet, we encourage you to start there, since this episode builds on that beginning and phenomenal conversation. This episode takes us into the growth chapter of Angelo's journey. He shares how he turned early doubt into momentum, raising the capital needed to scale and build trust within a cautious and highly regulated industry. We hear how his team navigated pivotal moments, including deploying essential technology during the COVID-19 pandemic to help manufacturers keep delivering life-saving medicines to patients. Angelo reflects with host Alfa Demmellash on resilience, leadership, and what it takes to grow quickly while staying grounded in purpose, community, and the kind of long-term vision that carries you forward with clarity.
Yes, we can exponentiate our manufacturing capacities, but there is the carrying capacity of the planet, and there is the waste, generation and issues like microplastics. Like, what do we do with that, and what does responsible manufacturing look like, right? And so I'm curious, like, what your point of view is, especially having traveled so much. And I don't know you to be a person who likes things for the sake of having things. Like, you're a light, and you work so much too. What's your vision for manufacturing that doesn't destroy the planet, that doesn't just,
I believe the advancements in manufacturing will help reduce these areas of goods that right now are truly cost prohibitive, whether that is around therapeutics, whether it's around transportation. We see transportation, especially when I travel in other parts of the world, that is very tough, very dangerous, very costly, whatever it ends up being. Mobility is a very key aspect of all of this. But then there's also just general quality of life things that are not like a toy, or not just, some basic thing that I spent $20 on Amazon last night buying. It's, how can that relate to safer water, safer electricity, safer environment, safer whatever. It's manufacturing ultimately needs to support these things to solve the problems in Ghana or Dominican Republic with these issues around waste floating up on the shores. And so I guess I should have caveated that, because I come from a world where I'm not manufacturing trinkets. I'm manufacturing like $1 million therapeutics. And so when I think of manufacturing, when I classify manufacturing, I classify it as, man, there's just so many things right now that are just too costly to produce, too costly for people to buy. And I believe that the accessibility to that will be enabled by this. Do I love the idea of, flooding the world with more cheap plastic goods? No, I don't think that's necessarily a very positive thing. I don't think, any of us believe in the impact it'll have on both culture, society, and the environment. But there are those.
It would destroy the life-supporting conditions that the therapeutics wouldn't even make sense, right? Like,
because then if we're all living in these awful environmental conditions.
Then you want Alzheimer's. I want to forget this is the world I'm in.
That's not a world I want.
No.
A world I want is, I want to reduce the cost of things that are made. And those things in my head are these really, really complicated things. Whether it's in the aerospace,
variety of cancers, or
therapeutics, energy, recycling, whatever it ends up being. And any of it. It's the equipment to support our food and the ecosystem too. Like, all of that stuff is very costly.
Yeah.
And I think that if we can have bigger breakthroughs in manufacturing, and we need way, way, way more people to help do all of this.
And micro manufacturing.
And micro manufacturing that's local, that doesn't have the issues around transport around the world.
Yeah.
All of those things I think can be help enabled by these new intelligent systems. And that's my hopeful vision for the future of manufacturing, not cheap Amazon plastics showing up on the beach.
Yeah.
I don't want that either. But I do want some robot that was produced at a reasonably cost price to go and clean all that stuff up so that the people of Ghana and Dominican Republic can have a higher quality of life.
I think they too. And I'm hoping that my sister in Ghana or my brother in DR is like thinking about that and learning how to create, and use and leverage technology to actually shift that disaster into something that could actually be a positive and redemptive story for what's happening. Which then brings us to entrepreneurship. Yeah. And there's actually a really great group that we partner with called Praxis, and they talk about redemptive entrepreneurship. And it's really like, they talk about pushing the redemptive edge. We are still at like level 1 conversations around just ethics and having a sense of responsibility for your actions when you create things, when you develop and so on. But I like their framing around redemptive entrepreneurship because it kind of gets us in that space of imagining really what this life-supporting economy that we all emerge by the basics of our decisions around what we choose to create, what we choose to consume, where we choose to participate, where we put our dollars, our voice, all of that. So which brings me to entrepreneurship. And now at baseline, there is just some I think some work that we can do to encourage entrepreneurs to experiment. I believe they're already doing this. Now, for context, at Rising Tide, our average entrepreneur is a 40-year-old single mom with 2 kids making about $35,000 a year from a day job. Sometimes 2 in the US, right? So that's 2 minimum wage jobs, and then creating on nights and weekends the thing that they hope would enable them to both express their highest potential, their gifting, their passion, model something for their kids, their family, and create the kind of jobs that would bring that kind of joy, a sense of dignity and purpose in their local communities. So that's, the 40-year-old that I'm talking to, and have been talking to since I was like in my 20s. So thank you to Rising Tide entrepreneurs for trusting us and being on the journey with us. And entrepreneurs like you who've come along and who are part of that community. And so when I think about them, there's the piece around, hey, this whole world of AI, it's too much. Maybe like it's a distraction. Maybe I just need to focus on what I do, my service, and forget about it. Do you believe it's an option to forget about tech right now if you're building?
No, I think it's there's no choice. But
and how would you advise them to get in the mix? How
So I'm gonna.
What's your advice? Yeah.
People through how I use it myself.
Okay.
And it's gonna range from, thinking about, again, what does the future of manufacturing look like for wildly complex things, down to my day-to-day.
Okay.
And so how I organize my whole life, and I can show you after the podcast, every month I write down objectives for each kind of, I don't even have a name for it. It's actually the first time I'm ever talking about it. But I have different objectives for different categories of my life.
We're surfacing a new process. I like it. Okay.
And so I use this piece of software that allows me to just simply write down and just text. So I'll give you some examples. So on my journey to 50 countries, that takes a lot of planning, right? And so I have a new trip coming up. I need to plan for it. But my objective for the month of June is to make sure everything is booked. I don't need to pick what I'm doing yet. I don't need to, do whatever. I just need to know that in the month of June, I've booked this trip. I've made a decision on the date, the flights, the hotels, period. That's a super simple objective. You're going to see where AI comes in a second. The next objective, as I'm getting older and I have kids, I want my family to eat healthy, and I want to have home-cooked meals because there was a stretch there when the business was really busy. I've made excuses around not exercising, doing lots of takeout. And I always would say to myself, like, there's just such a high like a mental burden to think about what are we cooking this week? I don't want to go to the grocery store. That's really annoying. What do I even buy? Oh, I don't have ideas. And so I have a goal.
This is hitting a little too close to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It goes more. You'll see, and that's why I chose this thing. So for the month of June, every week I have a simple goal. Every week I want to make 4 meals for the family.
Okay.
Simple objective.
Yeah.
And then we get to exercising, because as I've noticed as I've gotten older, and you talked about 40-year-old entrepreneurs, so I'm just under 40 right now.
Yeah.
I'm starting to physically feel it.
Okay.
You know, I have 15 years of entrepreneurship. It has a physical impact.
Yes.
But I want to reverse some of that. I want to just feel better. I want to be energized. And so I set simple exercise goals, and I don't do more than 15 minutes a day. I'm not one of these crazy people that spends 2 hours at the gym.
Okay. 15
minutes.
Yeah.
But I have goals for how much I want to work out or exercise in the month of June.
Okay.
So I wrote all of these simple things down. Month of June, I need to get this booked. Month of June, I want to cook 4 meals a week. Month of June, I want to exercise. In my case, I want to exercise 6 days a week. Big goal for myself.
I like it.
Let's see. But what I do then is I immediately open up ChatGPT for each of these objectives.
Okay.
So every month I do the same thing now. Every month I pick a day towards the end of the month, typically on a Friday, sometimes Friday afternoon into Saturday, whatever. Sometimes I'll do it during quiet time for the kids on Saturdays, where I just get about an hour and a half reprieve, on the weekends.
Yeah.
And what I do is I fire up ChatGPT, and they allow you to group it into projects now. So I have a project for travel, a project for food, a project for health, and of course I have it for the business, of which I'll get to in a minute.
Okay.
But I'm setting this up because I want people to feel that if they can approach the technology in their personal life, they're definitely going to be able to use it in their professional entrepreneurial life. So let me walk you through it now. So I fire up ChatGPT and I have my different projects, and I'll give the one that I love every week, which is I have a thread that I say, hey, it's Saturday again. I need meals for the week. And so ChatGPT spits out 7 options every week. And I say, I like that one, I don't like that one, give me 3 more. And then it eventually basically helps me decide what I want for the family that week. And for what it's worth, I told it at the start of the conversation, I'm a dad, my wife works, I work, we have 2 young kids, they're picky with this, X, Y, and Z. Give me meal options. So every week, the AI gives me some options.
Are they branded?
What's
like
that?
Power Breakfast.
No, well, I didn't go that far, but I probably could. I probably could.
You could. You can make it really fun. Okay.
Exactly. But I use this thing to reduce the cognitive overhead for me to make decisions. You'll see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
I hope the entrepreneurs are kind of predicting what I'm about to say. To reduce the mental overhead to make decisions.
Yeah.
And so I've found that if I can use this thing every week to help me pick out what meals I want, and then guess what? After I choose the 3 meals, I can actually show you on my phone after. I tell ChatGPT to put together a grocery list, but how I walk through the store. Because the thing that I hate about grocery lists is I get to the milk and I'm like, oh, I forgot this thing over in produce, whatever.
Yeah.
So I have it organized how I walk through the store. I go through produce first, then I go to meat, and then I go to middle aisles, then I go to dairy, and then I finish up with the breads. So it organizes all of the ingredients for all the meals that I chose, and it helps me walk through the store. And I do that every week.
Now, have you seen any efficiency around how much time it used to take you
Oh
when
my
you're
gosh.
just wandering
So-
around versus like
yes.
when you have it organized?
So my wife jokes about this. Yes, my wife jokes about this. When I used to go to the grocery store, I just used to be like a typical husband, staring at the aisles like a deer in headlights, trying to figure
It's
out.
not a husband thing only.
Well,
like it
maybe it's a
happens to
husband
me. I'm just like, don't put me in the tea section. I'm lost for hours.
Exactly. So now though, when I have a plan, when I show up to that store,
Yeah.
and it's organized by how I'm physically walking through the store, my mind is off. Like I don't have to think about what I'm getting. I just have a list. And I got here, 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 and here, and I know when I leave that store, I have everything I needed for the week. I also have it where it reminds me of different staples to add in each week for the kids or for myself or whatever.
Okay.
So when I leave that store, I have everything I needed. But I'm using this example because what did that tool just do? That tool allowed me to keep an organized rhythm, which is weekly.
Yeah.
Every Saturday, I just, ask it this thing. It helped me think through and make a decision in a low stress, low drama way. It reduced the amount of time it now takes me to walk through this store. And at the end, what's spit out is I get 4 to 5 meals a week that I make for the family. And even tonight, after I leave you tonight, I'm gonna go home, and what am I gonna do? I'm gonna open up ChatGPT and say, great, because I think tonight is chicken Alfredo. Fettuccine Alfredo, excuse me, with chicken. And I'm gonna say, great, spit
I'm
out.
coming to dinner. Yeah, okay, this is great.
And I'm gonna say, give me the recipe for it.
Yeah.
And so then I just follow the recipe, and then we have a home cooked meal tonight. The whole family had it. I feel healthy. Family I know at least had a non-processed meal. And I didn't have to do much. And so now bridging that to entrepreneurship, right? Being dad's hard, being a husband is hard, and being an entrepreneur is also really hard too.
Yep.
And so now, of course, I have my business goals. And every month, guess what? I do the same thing for my business. And the same thing I have broken down into different categories. Sales goals, product goals, financial goals, board goals, and I have them all written down. I'm not going to share them because they're a little bit more confidential than what I'm eating on Monday night.
Yeah.
But the point is, all I do as an entrepreneur to organize my own thoughts, to reduce the cognitive overhead, to have clarity in my purpose, vision, and tasks. Every month, again, it's like between quiet time on Saturday or Sunday, it's not a lot. I just simply write down for each category, what am I trying to do? So in sales, what are we trying to do this month, excuse me. For product, what are we trying to build this month? For finance, how much do we want to burn or not burn, or who do I need to hire, et cetera. And so by simply writing down the goal and objective as an entrepreneur, and then I use the tool to battle test these things. Do I spend, in the case of the business, do I spend like 80, 85% of it myself just thinking about what I need to do? Of course, because I got a decade of experience. It's easier for me now to just kind of very quickly come to decisions. But for that 15%, that 20% where I'm stuck and I don't know the risk weighting of a decision, of course I use AI to help me just think and talk through. AI is extraordinarily patient. It doesn't make fun of me if I ask it a dumb question. And what I find is there's this theory from software engineering called the troll theory. Do you remember, you and I are about the same age, but those little trolls in the 90s?
Oh yes, with the
little hair.
colors.
Yeah.
Yes.
The theory is you put that on your desk.
They're still very popular.
Exactly.
Yeah, the troll movies.
They haven't hit my kids yet.
They have hit my household.
My kid, we don't try to watch as much screen time, but whatever.
Yes.
But the theory is you put a troll on your desk as a software engineer and you talk to it. Because when you're stuck on a problem, you talk to it, and what it does is it kind of organizes your thoughts and it organizes your brain to try to work through a problem. And so now I use AI in the exact same way. But in this case, where the troll did not talk back to me before, the AI does. And so as an entrepreneur, the best advice that I can give is organize your life for your business and your life. And you simply write down for this month, what am I want to do across each dimension? And then you sit down and you say, how am I going to get there? And then from there, when you're stuck, open up ChatGPT. Do it.
Or the other.
Or any of the other platforms. I just happen to like OpenAI because I just used it early on and it became habit. That's just a personal thing.
Have you used the other ones like Claude or
I
Gemini
have,
and so on?
I have. I use them for different purposes. So it depends on the situation. But for my general purpose, day to day, hey, I'm stuck. I open up OpenAI ChatGPT. And I use voice mode a lot, by the way. I use it in the car because I don't want to be embarrassed at home. I don't want to be embarrassed at work. When I'm driving, instead of listening to music or a podcast, I put the voice mode on, and sometimes I'll just let it sit for 15 minutes as I'm thinking, and it'll say like, oh, did you ask something? I say, no, shut up. I yell at it. I'm a little abusive to the AI.
No, don't.
Well, no, I know. In case of,
we don't want to be on the other end of that abuse.
We'll see. Maybe I should be nicer to my AIs. But anyway, point is, I talk to it. I talk to it as I'm reasoning through things. And so the whole point is that coming back to being an entrepreneur, an entrepreneur, I have not been able to separate my personal life from the business. And when people typically say, separation of personal life to business, sometimes they often mean it's like, oh, well, when I'm at dinner, I get a phone call and I have to reply to a message or whatever. That's not what I'm referencing. And one, I try to separate that as much as I can. What I say is that in order to be the best entrepreneur, I need to feel as if my life is not burning. I need to feel as if I am being a responsible husband, father, friend, son, whatever it is. And so I use the AI to just kind of get my basic life organized. But that allows me and frees me up to have clarity of mind to make decisions and to plan and to then work with my team to then execute on the business.
Yeah. So
and that's where, if like my advice to entrepreneurs is actually don't use it for the business first. Use it for your life, and that will then naturally graduate to the business. And then you won't feel as if this tool is scary or whatever. You'd be like, oh great, it helped me figure out the meals this week, which that in of itself, I'm telling you, is the biggest de-stressor on a weekend.
I think that is fantastic and a great way to frame how to engage with AI or technology or these tools. And I think that one of the things that is striking about this is it also gets at rising tide, and even this podcast. For us, this podcast is very much about surfacing in conversation the kinds of wisdom that would only be possible because you and I are talking. And then we think that this content is going to play a role in not just supporting that next entrepreneur who's listening to this or finding inspiration, but also the AI. Like this That's is, right. I look at this.
We are training data. We're training data.
And so I want it to be uniquely human. I want it to have all of our ums and hows and like all of our imperfections, which makes us, which makes it authentic, but also trains the AI systems out there. About our values, about where the tensions are for us, what our hopes and dreams are for technology, but also for the kind of world we envision. And I think the more of that we can add intentionally, the better the guessing game goes for the AI systems that are out there, trying to figure out probabilistically what we would be, looking for or hoping for. That said, besides that civilizational level vision, there's also, I think, there's a lot of overwhelm, and I love how you simplified by being like, hey, maybe fire it up to use it for your personal, have it help you organize something as complex as travel or even just making a meal when you're juggling so many things. Now, one of the things is like the difficulty in prioritizing because there is so much out there. And I think actually that's where a lot of the breakdowns are, in the same way like the overwhelm in the grocery store can make you, the overwhelm in the number of platforms and content, and especially if you're an entrepreneur, it's like, oh my God, you could get lost in the sea of all of the advice and content that you could get, including generated from GPT.
That's right.
Like when I see a lot of those products out there, like 3,000 AIs that could transform your life and your business and turn you into a billionaire on the beach tomorrow, and so you're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of overwhelming amount of choice and data and so on. So that curating, that filtering function, and it's also how we are talking about, and behind you, if someone is looking at there, like they'll see a terrapin, the turtle, and structuring on the back of that shell for us, just simple, 7 categories with purpose lantern at the center, and being like, hey, the first category is our resilience. And this micro series of the podcast is on resilience. And a lot of it is us surfacing, hey, what's supporting your resilience? And I think you've actually de facto answered by saying, here's how I'm using tech to support my resilience, my health. So now my question to you is, I don't know if you've done this with GPT, all of those things take time. And I actually do see time, in the finitude of time as one of our biggest challenges. I don't know if you've said, okay, GPT, I want to cook 4 meals. I want to work out this many times. I have these business objectives. how much time will all of this take if I'm also sleeping 8 hours, and actually get a sense of the time that all of your objectives are requiring of you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So we talked on. So what I defined on writing things down. So that whole framework is called, in the business, it's called OKRs, objectives and key results. I am at the absolute most extreme when it comes to this system, this belief, this approach of having a very clear objective, defining what success looks like. So in my case, 4 meals a week, 15 minutes a day exercise for 6 days, booking the travel in the next month. But then creating this system that we call at Apprentice a quarterly tempo, which puts time in relationship to those goals. Because
this is it. This is the thing. This is the thing that needs to be hacked for all of us.
Yeah, and so this is something that it took the better part of 10 years.
Yeah, it's not an overnight,
No, and it came to a realization over time, which is when I had goals and I would put a date on it, that date in many ways became arbitrary. It was, I kind of feel like it's going to be 2 months. I kind of feel it's 3 months. I kind of feel like it's a couple of days, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah.
So what I did was, not just for myself, but for my team, I removed the concept of arbitrary dating. You can't just pick a date anymore. The date is picked for you. And so this concept of a quarterly tempo that we use at Apprentice is that every single week of the quarter, and we didn't go shorter than a quarter, but every week of the quarter, there is a pre-planned deadline for different teams. So I'll give you an example.
Designed by who? By what?
Collectively, so myself and my leadership team.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example, and then, by the way, I'm going to localize this to my life and the entrepreneur, because I manage my day like this.
Okay.
So we're going to go from the macro, how to run the business, or at least how I run the business, down to the micro, which is how do I run myself, and how do I manage time in relation to all of this.
Yes.
So every quarter, we have, let's say, the product team. Product and engineering. Well, collectively, it's called R&D at Apprentice. They have predefined for them at the start of the year, 4 times a year, the date in which they finish engineering for a given build, the date which it goes to alpha, beta. We go through a process called validation at Apprentice because it's regulated software, and then a release date. And so by forcing every quarter to have a predefined date where you must be done by this date, number one, it allows humans to organize their lives, because without it, it's hard to plan birthdays and travel and spending time with my friends or whatever it ends up being, because if you have uncertainty around, like, I might have to work this weekend, I might have a really stressful week at work this week. When you can't plan and organize your life around dates, it makes that second part just so much harder, because then you're at constant you have a constant feeling of uncertainty, and when you do, it's just hard to get work done. So that's the first thing. So R&D, it's really simple. In the case of sales, we also take a very similar approach. Every month we have what's called a revenue kickoff, where every month all the teams review every account, we plan the month ahead, we reforecast, we do something called PDS, predict, discuss, and solve, and we try to figure out what is needed within that month of time. But then we also have like cutoffs where, like, every order form needs to be in by this date, or MSA needs to be in by this date, because if it doesn't, the odds that it's going to happen for the quarter are a little bit lower. And I was late to today's podcast, as you know, because I was dealing with that for this month.
Yes.
Getting to the end of the quarter. So my point is, we set goals for the business that sit on top of this cadence every quarter. So remember, if I said, for the business, I have these sales goals.
Yep.
Well, great, this is our goals for the quarter. Well, if we know that's our goals for the quarter, we review them each month. We know then if a deal is getting off track, well, then we need to pull another deal in. We know that everything needs to be aligned by, this month, or we break them out by week, so week like 12. Mostly things need to be done by week 12, because then if otherwise, it's just,
like reverse engineering.
it's just not going to happen. So
do you have a lot of conflict?
That would be the end of the quarter. So week 8. Sorry.
Do you have a lot of conflict around setting those timelines? Like,
No,
I mean, like
they're predefined.
Yes, in that definition role, when you're with your leadership team, they're immutable. They're immutable.
They're
They're
immutable.
like, they're written in stone.
That's it.
Okay.
Like they're immutable.
What
And
happens?
So there's a negotiation that starts each quarter.
Okay, there's
where-
a negotiation.
Yeah, so the negotiation is around like, all right, well, what is the target for the quarter? Let's take sales.
Yeah.
If I know what my pipeline is, I know where it needs to be at the end of the quarter. Well, we negotiate, me and sales leadership on like, what do we think the quarter is going to end?
Like what's feasible?
Exactly, based on our quota, our capacity, the number of reps we have, et cetera. We do the same thing in software.
Yeah.
So we look at our backlog of items that we have that we want to build.
Yeah.
It's called story pointing, so we know our general capacity or complexity of each story. And then we negotiate with my head of product, my head of engineering, my head of quality, and we all negotiate on like what needs to be in this release. And we've gotten even more sophisticated than that now. We segment our product pipeline in different categories and we score them based on different metrics, which I won't get into. But the point is, there's negotiation at the start of the quarter. But once we align on that, that's it. The dates are immutable, the scope's immutable, and you're either going to hit it or you're not.
And if you don't, you learn.
And you learn, and we do a retrospective, and along the way we do that thing I mentioned, which is PDS, predict, discuss, and solve.
Yeah.
So every week we have a leadership team meeting. We see where we are we on track or we off track? If we're off track, why? And then we have a discussion around it.
Yeah.
So I say this because I organize my life that same way, which then goes into the micro. But the macro is organized such that our objectives are clear, our dates are immutable, and you have to just do your best to predict at the start when you're negotiating, how much can we get done in this period of time with these resources, with this scope, with this whatever.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you do have to work on the weekends, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
And so, or most of the time you don't. But like,
Yeah.
I don't make it seem like I have my team working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But some of them do work really hard. Sometimes, I work easily 7 days a week. But it's how you define work. But anyway.
Because you're still getting to travel. You're
yeah,
still
that's the
getting
thing.
to make the meals for your
Now
kids.
that's the micro.
You're still,
Yeah, so the micro
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
So I organized my day such that I try to wake up before the kids go to school.
Yeah.
They go to school pretty early because my oldest daughter takes the bus, so she's out of the house by 7:08, pretty early for a kid who's 6. And so I try to be up before them because I at least want to see them. I want to try to help out as much as I can. And then what do I do? So right after they leave the house, I exercise for 15 minutes. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I just do it in 15 minutes. And so I do a circuit where I don't stop, there's no breaks, and I do the same thing every day. And I'm sure there's probably personal trainers listening and saying, like, that is ridiculous, Angelo. Why would you do that? For me, I need consistency.
It supports you.
It's a support system. It's less about me, building muscle mass than it is about just feeling healthy and energized when I start my day.
Yeah.
So now you're looking at, I'm probably at like 7:30 a.m. at this point. Got the kids to school, exercise for 15-ish minutes, shower, begin my day. And then I've had to then organize my day such that I do a lot of higher value tasks early while my mind is fresh. And so those are things like making decisions. Those are things like working on everything from product requirements to board decks to really complex customer deployments or whatever it is. Just I call it focus time, where I just need to, focus and get something done.
Yeah.
And then my meetings begin, and then the meetings happen throughout the day.
Yeah.
I make my lunch because I want to control what I'm eating, during the day. And then around 5-ish, we start cooking dinner. And then we have dinner as a family where there is no work, no meetings. I try to never schedule anything between dinner time and bath time / bedtime with the kids. Depends on the day. And then most often, more than not, then I'll work again until around 9 to 10-ish. I'm trying to get to bed before 10.
Yeah.
Doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
But then if I get to bed by 10, I generally have about 8 hours of sleep. So I say this because I've spent a lot of time with the AI trying to organize my life, such that I can accomplish each of these goals. I want to see my kids in the morning. I want to exercise. I want to focus. I want to attend the meetings that I have to.
Yeah.
I also want to cook dinner for the family. I want to spend time with my family. I want to put the kids to bed.
Yep.
And I still want to do the stuff that I like doing, which is I like working at night. That's just me. That's just who I am.
Because night owl.
That's just how I'm built.
Yeah.
It's just whatever. I do work at night.
Yeah.
But my point is, I created this system at the business to support, a bigger calendar, more people. I organized my goals and objectives for the business, and then I organized my day-to-day.
Yeah.
And that has given me such a level of clarity, confidence.
Yeah.
My confidence has really exploded because I'm like, well, I have a control over this. I can manage my life. I can be a good husband. I can be a good dad. I can make good decisions in the business as best as I can. And, that has helped both the business and myself progress. But I use AI
to support that. And I would imagine that it could be helpful for managing sea change, right? Like, you're also navigating lots of unknown unknowns. And so you can build your day out in a certain way, but then there could be a whole slew of other considerations that you haven't thought about. Tariffs or no tariffs or, interest rate hikes or a variety of different things that could also shift how you organize your time. But you can also leverage the AI at this point to say, this has happened. And so how might I shift some things without losing the exercise and the family time? That's been like my core focus as well, has been, how to structure the time, and which then brings our roles, like how do we then structure and imagine our roles in such a way that it can make room for navigating unknown unknowns. So I call it flow mechanics. It's like, as a mechanic in that way, like a flow mechanic. You have to become a flow mechanic. And we have a lot of tools now to really architect in that way and design in that way. But at the same time, flow mechanics as in how you understand the ways the contours of your environment are shifting and changing, how your people are changing. I think in the future, 10 years from now when our little people are going to work, who knows, is there an AI system that has given them an avatar of you can choose to be like Angelo, or you could choose to structure your time very differently, where some people are night owls, I'm one of those. But then that has ramifications for your early AM and what you're doing. And or when you start cooking and so on and so forth, right? Relationship to time. But there's also that the fluidity and the understanding what it means to be agile and adaptable and flexible, and how the tech supports that. So you can be I want to be more like Angelo, because that supports my way of feeling like I have agency. Although control might be, some might say an illusion. but
more agency.
More
agency
agency
is the right word than control.
Because
I've given up on the control piece a long time ago.
I would imagine you have, in order knowing you as well. There's a lot of pivoting that goes on, and if control becomes a goal, I think we become brittle. We break apart when when the conditions shift and change. I do also, and this will pivot us to maybe the conclusionary parts of our conversation, part 1 and 2 and 3, but the piece around structuring, so I think there is a cognitive load right now for people to go through a process to figure out whether they're more like an Angelo, they're more like an Alpha, or what the heck they're supposed to be doing in their day-to-day roles, and their and I think that also leaves a lot of people vulnerable to doom scrolling.
Yeah, of course.
Because if your attention hasn't been kind of already attended to, essentially, by being you want to cook, or you would want to do this, or you want to garden, or you want to travel, if you are open and loose, there's lots of contenders for your attention. It's almost like a geographical territory that people are, competing, companies are competing for that attention. And the algorithms are so profoundly attuned now to your habits and what, and once you're hooked in, you're gone. You can spend hours scrolling through all kinds of content, and you've traded that time and attention. And somebody else is getting paid for that, not you. You've done it all for free. And you could do that day in and day out. Entire quarters could go by, and whole seasons. And so I think there is an opportunity at the moment to support people in reducing that cognitive load, to say, pick the stories that inspire you, or the roles that make sense to you, and then play there. But don't just, float. Flow mechanics doesn't mean just float, and let others define essentially what river you're floating on and to what land. Like, actually, you have agentiality and the opportunity to use these tools to create what kind of the terrapin's shell, the back of the terrapin, where you are, what you're doing to contribute to move in the direction that you want to move into.
Well, it's exactly right. And some people listening to this may be like, this guy's crazy. He's got his whole, business with these dates and these objectives.
Crazy, yeah.
And he tries to manage his days so tightly.
It took him 10 years to really perfect the OKRs.
Exactly. But what's interesting, though, is what I've found about this fluidity piece.
Yeah.
You may look at this and be like, that is extremely rigid. They negotiate, they lock it. How could they ever adapt to this? It's designed for adaptation. Because when you have the core decisions made, well, you just execute. I hate to trivialize it down to that, but when you remove those initial core decisions, then you're just done.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to see you put your body on autopilot, but you do move into this beautiful flow in which you know what you're doing, your teammates are doing, the company is doing, and everyone is in this kind of beautiful state. But when, for example, Liberation Day happened on April, whatever the heck it was, we were very much centric on life sciences. We'd been thinking about broader manufacturing for a while. We received this news.
Liberation Day is not like Independence Day.
No,
like,
this is like thing that whatever Trump called it. Not.
We're staying out of politics.
Yeah, we're staying out of politics, but what he called that day.
Yes, okay.
When I heard that this trade war was going to have a major impact on manufacturing everywhere.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden manufacturing was thrust into the spotlight. And people were thinking about, do I onshore, do I offshore, do I reshore, do I shift shores? What am I doing?
Nearshore.
Yeah, it's all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so we as a business, once we received this new information, because we had this structure in place, the literal next day I got together with my leadership team and I said, hey, there are going to be many, many, many companies around the world going to try to figure out, what am I doing? How does this impact me? And how do I keep jobs, but still contend with these new cost pressures that I now have? And we think software can go solve that. So that day, what did we do? We made a decision. We said, you know what? We're going to start to learn outside of life sciences. We're going to start to broaden out our industry set. And so the day after we discussed it, we didn't make any changes to the business the next day. But what did we do that next month? We set up our new objectives. We went to our first ever trade show outside of life sciences. We started to learn. And all of a sudden, guess what? I have a brand new pipeline that we just talked about today that is pretty wide, that I'm pretty shocked by, of just how many people are trying to figure out what this new world looks like and how could they use software to help with manufacturing. So my point is, when you design a system like this, it actually allows you to have the freedom to adapt to external forces. Whether those external forces are political, whether those external forces are macroeconomic. We had to deal with a lot of really, really hard and really tough macroeconomic decisions through 2022 into 2023 when the economy and life sciences kind of started to reverse, like really tough, really hard. But when you have this structure, you're exactly right. You're able to flow through and adapt, make changes, but also introduce new concepts, new strategies, new plans into an existing system. And when you can do that, then the organization can adapt, you can adapt, and you can get into this beautiful flow and rhythm of which every quarter, all right, cool. We have our new plan, we have our new marching orders, we have these new things we learned, we make these changes, and then we go and execute, and we do that all over again. But conversely, though, even during the day, a million things happen. Like I may be late tonight home to make dinner. Well, we're gonna have to come up with a backup plan. I won't be, for what it's worth.
Okay.
But my point is, if I was, we'd come up with another plan. If tonight I watch too much YouTube, like I watch YouTube too, I scroll too. Like I don't want people to think I'm this guy that's this like robot that has every minute of every day pre-planned, because that's not true. I have certain blocks pre-planned. I try to accomplish some goal in that block. But there are absolutely times when I'm scrolling through YouTube and damn it, it's 11:30. And so I've had to put controls on myself where I use this focus mode on an Android where it literally turns off YouTube on me, and I ignore it most nights.
You design systems to help,
I tried to, but I ignore it most nights. And so like the thing is that you can get caught into those flows where it's not necessarily always positive. Like I like to think I learn things on YouTube and whatever, but my point is, if you at least try to structure some of those blocks, and it doesn't need to be as extreme as me. I don't want somebody watching this and be like, man, I need to completely overhaul my company and have OKRs and quarterly tempos, and I need to manage my day and set all these goals and travel the world. Like, no, please don't do that. Just pick one thing, one simple thing, write it down, ask the AI how to help you with it, ask another question on how to help you with it, and just do one thing. And if you do one thing, you can do two things. If you do two things, you can do three things. And before you know it, you can build, very successful, I like to think, life and business. So, and adapt to whatever craziness gets thrown our way that we read about in the news.
I hear you saying, you can get more clarity when you do that. You can get more confidence.
Way more confidence.
And that leads to more competence and better decision making.
That's right.
And you constantly evaluate and reevaluate.
And lower drama.
And lower drama.
Tremendously lower drama. And I even noticed in myself, there was a period where, young entrepreneur, youngish, I guess, and, conflict would arise or things didn't happen that I wanted to happen, and I would react. I'd be reactive, and I'd react in a way that was either heavy-handed, that was misguided, that just wasn't fair in many ways to many people. And as I've gotten older and I've had this much more calmer sense of clarity and confidence and conviction, I'm noticing that not only my interactions with my team and others are much calmer, much lower drama, and are very, we can get at the problem faster without conflict. We still challenge each other, but there's a difference between challenge and just, yelling at each other for some, or reactionary. And what I've found is that has also had a major impact, because if I'm calm with others, my team is calm with their team. If they're calm with their team, those folks are then calm with their other colleagues. And the business is in just such a different mental, emotional, and even physical state, because I centered myself and I matured. Because when I was, brash, reactionary, tough, firm,
it's a different kind of leadership model, and it can be more brittle.
Way more brittle.
Way more brittle. I think those are the old models of leadership that I hope are going to be, for the lesson books for AI to better and for humans. But I think there is a lot to be learned from even just like slowing down a little and observing and creating rhythms that are, supportive. I'm curious, because when I think about 2020, and this will bring us to a place that I want to make sure I cover, because I know this would be important for some of our audience members. I remember you gave a speech, and I was traveling, because I also have travel goals. Global citizen over here. But I was away when there was the Community Business Academy graduation.
Oh my gosh,
and
that's
you
right,
gave the speech. And I remember I promised myself, I'll just be, off doing my travel thing. The team has it. It's like amazing celebration. I couldn't help myself.
And
I was like,
Kenya at the time?
I was in Morocco. And
Morocco,
it was my
Morocco
aunt.
En route to,
it was my aunt who raised me. I was at a conference, and I hadn't spent this quality time with her, and we were literally in this wonderful place in Marrakesh. And I told her,
very high on my list for what it's worth. It's on my route to 50. It goes through Morocco. So
it's really like those places, those cultures like Morocco. They're so powerful, because I think they're instructive for many reasons, culturally and otherwise, because they're points of convergence of so many cultures and history. It's like Europe, it's Africa, it's Middle East.
I kind of think Jersey City is kind of like that too.
Jersey City, I pick places like that. Me too.
Everything smashes together.
I love those places and places.
Just saying.
Yes, it has a role. It really has a role. And so I was there in the hotel room, and I was like, I told her, you're giving this speech, and she's like, why aren't we logging in? I was like, well, no, we're spending quality time. She's like, what? I want to see Angelo. I want this story. So we get in and we are weeping. Our laptop nearly like flooded away from our tears of just joy, because I think you connected so powerfully with, those graduating entrepreneurs and putting yourself in their shoes and what they're navigating.
Thank you for listening to part 2 of our Future Tide conversation with Angelo Stracquatanio. We hope his reflections on scaling a mission-driven company leading through crisis and staying rooted in purpose offered both insight and encouragement. In the final part of this conversation, part 3, we turn toward impact and legacy. We explore how Angelo is giving back to the communities that shaped him, what his journey means for inclusive innovation, and how one entrepreneur's path can open doors for many others in the years ahead. We look forward to sharing that conclusion with you. Stay connected with us at risingtidecapital.org and future.risingtidecapital.org for more updates. Future Tide Conversations is powered by Rising Tide Capital, a 501c3 nonprofit. Our mission and this podcast are made possible by supporters like you.